Hey everybody, this is Danny Davis, the Austin American-Statesman. As y'all know, every week on the Longhorn Confidential podcast, we like to bring on an expert, someone who covers a team that Texas is playing this week. Y'all know what week it is. This is Texas A&M week. So Tony Catalina works with me here at the Statesman, our Texas A&M beat writer. Who better to come on and talk a little Aggie than Tony? You can follow Tony on Twitter at Tony_Catalina. You can also read his work on statesman.com or jump on YouTube. Check out the Behind Enemy Lines podcast. Tony does a lot of good work there. Has a cool little border thing on his podcast that we don't have here over. I guess his production budget's a little bit more than we have over here. But Cedric Golden's talking with Tony this week, so we're kind of doing a trade off. I guess Tony got said, and then he has talked to me, so I think he lost that deal somehow. But Tony, how are you doing today, buddy?
I'm good. How are you? No, yeah, I get the best of both worlds. Be able to talk to you and said I'm the one that wins here this week.
Tony has already aced the flattery and the veteran reporters on his staff. Park, and I heard the intro you gave Seth, called him a legend. You're saying you're enjoying talking to me. Flattery will get you a lot of places in this business. But let's talk some football. Let's talk a little less about me and Seth. But Texas A&M, definitely a team we're talking about. 11-0, ranked 3 in both the AP poll, the coaches poll. By the time this podcast come out, the college football rankings will have come out too. We're recording this on Tuesday morning, but Texas A&M will be 3 in that poll as well. Still has a little bit of work to do to get into the SEC championship game. They need to probably win this weekend at Texas to ensure their spot, but they're going to the playoff. So we'll just start with there, Tony. You're in College Station. What are kind of the vibes in College Station? Are people pretty excited about this season? Are they kind of dreading this weekend and a possible loss to the Longhorns? What is kind of the overall vibe in College Station right now?
Yeah, it's been really fascinating to kind of see the arc of it, right? Because early on it felt almost not like fool's gold, but a little bit of just, uneasiness about the fact they're winning and just, okay, let's not get too excited. Then they beat Mississippi State, they beat Florida, and they continue to win. And it's like, okay, this team might be for real. They might be good. And then the South Carolina game, that just felt like, this is a team that felt like it had destiny on their side. Whether that's real or not, whether you believe in that is another thing. But this team feels real. So I think they've allowed themselves to be excited. They've allowed themselves to feel about the possibility of this being a championship caliber team. Now, I will say this week, the vibe has changed, right? We had talked to Mike Elko on Monday. His tone was a little different, right? His energy felt a little different. The vibes around here is a little bit more serious, a little bit more muted. I think they understand they're in the playoff, but with this game, as you know well, it's different, right? There's a different feel about it. So 11-1 on the surface feels like a good season. 11-1 and you lose to Texas and they get to hang that over your head is a whole different feel. So yes, there is bigger fish to fry for A&M, so to speak, but losing this game is something I don't feel anybody in here in this town wants to deal with.
You mentioned that Texas is 83, ranked 17th in the college football playoff rankings. Maybe move up a little bit by the time y'all hear this, but Texas definitely needs to win over the Aggies to even have a argument, and that may not even get them in. Tony, though, will be covering the playoffs, may get himself some of the swag that I'm currently wearing from 2 years ago at the Sugar Bowl. But Tony, this is your second year on the A&M beat. Also, Mike Elko, second year in College Station. What is different about this year's team as opposed to the team you first covered last year when you got to Texas?
Yeah, I think a lot of last year was trying to make do with what they had, right? I mean, obviously they went into the portal and they brought in some pieces and they did the best they could, but on offense and on defense, it felt like they were just working with the ingredients they had. This year, it feels more a concerted effort to bring in Mike Elko's type of guys, to bring in just what they were looking for to help run this offense. You see the way they changed the wide receiver room, really explosive guys, the way they brought in the tight end room, not really as flashy, not big time playmakers, but good blockers, somebody who can play well in a 12 personnel. Then you look at the pass rush, it's way better than it was last season. And that's crazy to say when they had 3 guys who went in the top 64 picks, but just fits in the way they attacked the portal. Wasn't necessarily about who can we throw the most money at, but it's who could we bring in and fill in this scheme. So the biggest difference for me is just the time built into the structure of what they were looking to do. Feels like the plan is finally in place. It's moving in the right direction, and it's really hard to ignore the product that they have out there right now.
Yeah, Texas A&M, they're coming off a blowout win over Samford, which congratulations, I guess. But this season they have, They rallied late at Notre Dame. They had that rally against South Carolina. They won a close game against Auburn. The Arkansas game maybe a little bit closer than or not as close as the score indicated because Arkansas scored really late in that game. But when you look at those one-score games, 4-0 this year, I think they were 2-2 last year. Why do you think this Texas A&M team has been able to close out those close games and rally against Notre Dame, rally against South Carolina?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. For them, I think that the two main points is their whole mantra this whole year was about finish. They know they didn't do a good job finishing games last year. They know they didn't finish the end of the season the way they wanted to. And more so than that, it's kind of worked into the weight room. Tommy Moffitt, the strength and conditioning coach, is somebody who has built his program about letting these guys still be fresh, still being the best versions of themselves in the second half of football games. Now that they got high motor guys, and obviously that comes with program building and talent development and all of that. But there's just a real concerted effort to understand that, for 2/3 of the season last year, when they were 7-1 and everyone was telling them how good they were, they didn't finish the year they wanted to. And I think that's been a huge point of emphasis. It's like, it's great what you do in September and October. It means nothing if you're not doing it in November and December.
We've gone 4 questions into this podcast without talking about the quarterback, which is not something we do here at Texas, especially if we're talking about Texas and Arch or Texas and A&M and Marcel Reed, who has vaulted himself, maybe not a Heisman Trophy frontrunner, but definitely a candidate. If he finishes strong, I can't see why he wouldn't end up in New York. But can you speak to just the season he's had and how he's kind of put himself in that Heisman Trophy conversation? Because I think if we've been talking in the preseason, I don't think those words would have been associated with each other.
No, for sure. And I think this preseason, it's really fascinating. I actually took a moment to think about just what was the story, the narrative about this team and this quarterback preseason. There were videos going viral about he wasn't able to throw the ball well and on air in practice. There were conversations about what is his development as a passer going to be, and would that be the reason why A&M is held back this season? And I think in every step of the way, he's progressed, whether it's be a leader off the field, his play on the field, he just looks more comfortable. I give a huge credit to Collin Klein, the offensive coordinator, for putting together an offense and a game plan and a group that really fits his strength and his skill set. Now, he put a lot of work in it. He's working with Pat Mahomes, his QB trainer out in Texas. And, there is some real tangible things that show he understands and is just a better quarterback last year. I think it helps tremendously that they have wide receivers like Casey Concepcion and Mario Craver that really help you look good even when you're not at your best. But ultimately, it was like where talent met timing, where this kid found a reason or found a way to be better. They brought in some good pieces around him, and you kind of see what the results are now.
It could be argued that after that game in College Station last year, the 17-7 Texas win, there may not have been a less popular person in College Station than Collin Klein. Just with how that offense kind of sputtered against this Texas team, and as in a marquee matchup. But has he developed as a coordinator? Is it just the players? He has better players to work with this year. What would you attribute his success as a coordinator to this year?
Yeah, I think what he's been shown the ability to is to understand his team, right? There's been situations where they're trying to take a lot of deep shots and they haven't been able to connect, or you're throwing, 15 to 20 yard passes in the middle of the field. And when those things kind of get dicey, he knows the perfect time to draw up a screenplay, a tunnel screen, something to just get a playmaker in the hands, get football in the hands of the playmakers and just find a way to settle in. I think he's shown the ability to understand situational football. He understands his team. And I think in a perfect world, Collin Klein has a Le'Veon Moss. He has a Reuben Owens who can, go and get that 1 yard when they need it. Last year, the talent wasn't there. The skill set wasn't there. They were banged up. And I think in a lot of ways, he's not really changed too much. He's just had the personnel around him and the team understanding to go and be and do what he wants to do.
This Texas A&M team obviously has Marcel, leading the offense, a deep but very banged up running back room. But who would you say, aside from Marcel, is a name to know on this Texas A&M offense?
Yeah, I would say it's an easy layup, but it's Casey Concepcion. I mean, I know Mario Craver early in the season got a lot of attention. He was making a lot of flashy plays, and he warranted all of that respect. But whether it's special teams, whether it's, over the middle, a deep shot, Casey Concepcion is a guy who can run every route in the route tree. He's a tough kid. He's pound for pound one of the strongest guys on the team. And when it comes to the special teams, his difference-making ability, he's just like Niblet you guys have. Like, he is somebody who, and if he gets the ball with space in the special teams, he's flipping the field in an instant. So he's just I think if you're looking at the one person who changed the outlook of this team, he's definitely one of those guys.
Not on the Texas A&M defense. Who's a name to know on the defense?
Yeah, I think the easy one again is Cassius Howell. I mean, I've been banging the drum for that kid as long as I can step foot in the state of Texas. I think last year there were shades of him being as good as he has been, and now for him to sit here and be, one of the top pass rushers in the conference is really impressive. But beyond that, I think you got to look at a guy like Damian Sanford, the linebacker, a junior linebacker who stepped in for Scooby Williams when he's been hurt and has been seamless, if not better. It feels almost like a Wally Pipp situation here, but the kid is one of the best blitzing linebackers I've seen since I study film. He just understands it, and every week he seems to get more comfortable. So you pair that up with a Torian York, who his play speaks for itself. They have a really stout front seven, and coming into the year, I don't know if a lot of people thought that was going to be the case.
As I mentioned, the last question I have for you, and then we'll get you out of here. But as I mentioned, you moved to Texas last year from the Northeast. Have you fully gotten to understand what this Texas A&M rivalry is? Because I guess you're kind of being brought back into it as the rest of the state is, or where would you kind of rank it among the college football great rivalries?
Yeah, I mean, obviously being a Northeast guy, like you said, I was biased. I always thought like Michigan, Ohio State was like one of the funner ones to watch. Like it's just Big Ten to just real hatred there. But the day I got into College Station and I started to meet some of the people in the community, I learned very quickly what this game meant to people here. And, for me to be in that stadium last year, 17-7 A&M lost, but to feel the energy in that room, to feel the pageantry, what this game means, it didn't take very long for me to understand how important this is to the state of Texas. Now I get to go full circle and go to Austin, kind of feel that vibe. I've actually never been in DKR, so I'm excited to get in there and feel that and what that brings. So, no, as a Northeast guy who is really appreciative of football and just everything that is, college, high school football in the state of Texas. It's everything I thought it was going to be.
All right, that is Tony Catalina. Read his work on statesman.com, watch his Behind Enemy Lines podcast on YouTube. If you want to follow on Twitter, at Tony_Catalina. You can read it on the screen if you can't spell that out. Tony, we appreciate the time. One more question. Thanksgiving's on Thursday. What's our go-to dish? What's our go-to dessert?
Oh man, you know what? I love a good piece of pumpkin pie. That's my dessert there. And
my man.
I love pumpkin pie. And for me, I love a really well executed stuffing or dressing, whatever you call it. You give me a little bit of good stuffing with some gravy, I'm sold.
Awesome. Well, hopefully you get to eat good on Thursday before you make the trip down to DKR on Friday at 6:30 kick. If you're watching at home, can't afford to get to the stadium because those tickets, oh boy. It'll be an ABC telecast. But Tony, we'll see you at DKR for what should be a great game. The Aggies' first trip to Austin since 2010. It should be a lot of fun, and we'll see if those Aggies can, wrap up that perfect season, or Texas can play the role of spoiler and maybe sneak into the playoff conversation. But check us both out at statesman.com. We appreciate y'all watching, and see you at DKR on Friday. Deuces. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.